You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Lohman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Lohman.
Hey, welcome everybody. We have updated social media banning information for you today. Also, what do you think about the latest primary results? We're going to get into the outcome in Minnesota because I think it speaks to so many trends, and it also involves Keith Ellison, who's in some hot water for allegedly beating up his girlfriends. So he's not just a Jew hater, racist, and jihadi apologist. Right, Doug?
Yeah, apparently there's video of this somewhere, and
yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, it's bad.
So I'm here with Sidekick Doug, and we're going to get into the primary results and more, but first, it's time for jokes. And I will play the jokes from our voicemail, and then I'm going to tell a joke. Here we go.
Okay, Sonny. Why should the number 288 never be mentioned? It's too gross. Bye.
I think that's because 288. Like, you know, cannibals. All right, here's another joke.
Hi, Sonny. This is Sandra, your squad leader from Minnesota. All right, here's my joke for you. A weasel walks into the bar. The bartender looks up and says, "Wow, in all my years spending bar, I've never had a weasel stop by. What can I get you?" "Pop," goes the weasel. Hope you liked it.
Only a Midwesterner can get that joke because you know what
exactly.
pop is. Yeah. All right. She called in another one too. This is Sandra, our squad leader.
Solid.
That means that she's a Patreon elite squad, and she's committed enough money that she's a leader.
So she can
Hey,
kill
Sonny,
us.
it's Sandra again. I have another joke in case the first one wasn't good enough for you.
No, that was great.
All right, a man walks into a zoo. The only animal in the entire zoo is a dog. It's a Shih Tzu.
It's a shit zoo, all right. There's a dog there. What the heck? So this is making me feel kind of dirty because my joke is dirty. And these are all like these sweet, like totally family-friendly jokes. I'm about to tell a dirty joke.
Yeah, you got to mix it up.
All right, here's a dirty joke. A little old man is taking his evening walk when he sees a woman with perfect breasts. He gets closer and says to her, "Hey, lady, would you let me bite your breasts for $1,000? The woman refuses vehemently. The determined old man kept walking a few feet behind. He then says, "Would you let me bite your breasts just once for $10,000? The woman stops, thinks about it for a while, and says, $10,000. Because we all know every woman has her price, right, Doug?
Well, every man does too.
Yeah, I suppose. $10,000. Okay, just once, but let's go to that dark alley. They go to the alley where she takes off her top to reveal the most gorgeous breast he has ever seen. He grabs them and he starts fondling them, slowly caressing them, kissing them, licking them, burying his face in them, but he doesn't bite them. The woman gets annoyed and asks, "Well, are you going to bite them or not?" "Nah," says the old man, "costs too much."
Nice.
I know. Yeah. Thanks, Marty, my Facebook friend, for that one. If you
That's a
would
good
like,
one.
You don't have a joke, do you, Doug?
Well, I have a couple, but I'll just tell you one quick one.
All right.
What kind of meat does the Pope eat?
What kind?
None.
Ooh. And that's perfect because the Catholic Church is in the news this week.
That's right.
If you want to.
They're not eating nuns, though.
No, they're not eating nuns. That's unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you want to tell us a joke for next week, call the number 707-681-5834 and we'll play it because we play them all. And I hate to do this because I really appreciate our patrons, otherwise known as Sunny Elite Squad. But folks, besides squad leader Sandra, you're slacking. You're supposed to be calling in jokes. So there's my scold for the week.
You are a scold.
Yeah. So I'm in Minnesota, land of the gushing taps, plastic bags, and eye contact. And nothing's on fire here, which is nice.
Yes.
California
It smells good.
California is once again burning. And I've done a little bit more research on that, and it's clearly man-made. You know, I mean, I guess fires are pretty normal, but the size and intensity of these fires are definitely because of environmentalist craziness, which you can believe because there's so many things wrong in California because of those people. But
Well, how so?
So for example, I was looking into one fire in particular, and there was this beetle that goes after trees and it kills them. So when the Forestry Service, now these people are not like corporate loggers. These are people whose job is to maintain the forests for the federal government, for us, right, to keep them pristine. So they know what they're doing. And they want, they put in a request to cut down this area to get rid of this beetle so the whole forest doesn't go to this beetle, right? Mm-hmm. So they put in this request. Well, the environmentalists pounce and they tie up the whole thing. They could just go out there and cut down a few trees, but the whole thing gets tied up in court for 2 years. So by the time they win, the Forestry Service wins because the environmentalists are stupid and have no science. So the Forestry Service wins, but by then the forest is gone to this beetle, right? Now everything in the forest is dead. Mm-hmm. So now what's going to happen? You're going to get the fire of your life. The next time something's going to set it off and it's just going to spark and it's going to be the hottest, most intense fire. And then firefighters die and houses are burned. And it's like all because of these assholes who just are like, no, you can't chop down a single tree. And the other thing, too, is there used to be this whole industry around logging and replanting. So the loggers were like, okay, you can go thin out this forest. They don't wipe out a whole forest like they used to. They go in and they thin it out. They don't, clear an area where like the forest is just gone, like everybody's nightmare or something. They thin it out, which makes it better for wildlife and better for like when a fire does happen, it's not as intense, easier to fight. And then they replant because that's part of what they're required to do. So you have this whole industry devoted to clearing and replanting forests, right? Well, they've
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, they've killed that industry by stopping all the logging. And so now there's nobody replanting either, except the federal government.
So now it's just...
So now it just burns down. And then the other thing that happens, what I heard was when these fires get too intense, you can't replant trees because the soil is killed. So thanks, environmentalists. Yeah, thanks, environmentalists. Anyway, I'm here in Minnesota where it's lush and green and they don't have those kinds of things.
Yeah. They have a lot of lakes.
Yeah, right. If we had a fire here, it would just run into a lake.
Right.
And that's why the water gushes out of the taps, too, and everything. It's so nice. God, it's nice. I forget. I'm in California. I use the tap water there. I flush the toilets there. I take showers there. And you kind of forget what it's like to have water gushing at you out of faucets. It's really...
Oh, see, I didn't know this. So in California, do they throttle the water? Is it just that there's not a large supply, so it tends to trickle out more? Or is that a conscious thing that they do?
They throttle it. Absolutely, they throttle it.
Ugh.
Yeah. And they do it in the name of water conservation, of course, because it is a drier place, but they do so many stupid things that hurts the water supply. So it's just not even, I'm just like, screw you. You know what? We have the technology to have plenty of water in California. All the water anybody needs. We have all the technology. I mean, look at Israel, for God's sake,
Look at Las Vegas.
Look at Las Vegas. So the technology exists. It's the environmentalists that will not have it. And they do crazy stuff like even pour the fresh water into the Pacific Ocean to save some like little tiny minnow fish of some kind or something. And there's just endless stupid stories like that.
Yeah, I've heard it.
So
it's great.
The only reason the state is dry is because of the California politicians and the environmentalists.
I was once at a film festival and there was a short, and the short was a cartoon where this guy was brushing his teeth and the water was going down the drain. And on one hand, they showed the guy brushing his teeth and he was leaving the water on. And as he left the water on, it showed a lake, a fish in a lake, and the lake was slowly being drained. So there was no water.
Yeah.
And then essentially the fish died because this guy
Because some guy wanted to run the water while he brushed his teeth.
And everybody was sort of like nodding their head.
Yeah.
And I remember saying out loud, like, where did the water go? The water doesn't disappear when it goes down the drain.
Right.
So
good point.
The water just keeps going somewhere else, just redirect it back to the lake. I mean,
yeah,
that's the level of thinking that you're dealing with when you're dealing with environmentalists, is they literally think that water disappears when it goes down the drain.
You're right. They just don't think at all. There's no science and no thinking involved in environmentalism. It is all 100% feeling, and it is a church. It is a freaking church. And so I basically live in a state that is run by a church. It's like living in a religious dictatorship.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's why they shouldn't teach it in schools, because it breaches the separation of church and state, because it's really a religion.
Yeah.
Ecology is a religion.
They pretend it's a science, but it's not. All right, so let's get into the banning, because we've had some banning news this week. You know, we had the whole Alex Jones kicked off of YouTube, Apple, Facebook, Spotify, Pinterest, all within a day.
The purge.
Yeah, the purge that happened last week. And of course, you know, that's just on the heels of endless news about this. So it's not like, you know, they haven't been slowly killing us all. But we've had some other bannings. Stephen Molyneux, who does a YouTube channel, and he's controversial because he's also an Islam critic. But I think probably what's most controversial about him is that he is not afraid to talk about IQ as it relates to race, which is a big no-no. I don't think he's a racist. I've watched some of these videos. He's really just, look, these are the facts. These are the facts of crime. These are the facts of IQ. He hasn't, I don't know. I haven't seen him outright say certain races are, you know, shouldn't be allowed, or like anything crazy or creepy like that. He's just stating scientific facts. And you can like that or not, but like a lot of his other stuff is just political stuff. And he's a pretty smart guy. I don't personally like him very much, but anyway, it doesn't matter, right? These people should just, whatever. He's a YouTuber. He's got a huge following. A lot of people love him. And of course, that cannot be tolerated because he's a conservative and he's an Islam critic. So he got 2 strikes in 24 hours on his YouTube channel, and I'm sure that's from people reporting him. Not necessarily YouTube, but YouTube is probably just waiting to cancel somebody like him, kick them off, and they're going to do it at some point. But there was a huge campaign, kind of a backlash against that. So those 2 strikes have now been removed. And if you don't know, if you get 3 strikes on YouTube, your channel's gone. So that's pretty serious to get 2 strikes in 24 hours. Now you're just hanging by a thread. So thankfully they removed his strike. So he's still going. But, you know, it really kind of makes you think. And he wrote this post about it, and he said, I have 12 years of my life into videos. And he does a lot of videos. So really that's true. I mean, 12 years of his intellectual life is on YouTube. And some jackasses can just kill that by a bunch of complaints. You know, they're targeting people.
Yeah, it's a breach of contract.
Yeah. So the other thing that happened was Gavin McInnes and Proud Boys were banned from Twitter. And that one is pretty lame because they just banned him because there's another Unite the Right protest coming out. And Unite the Right is the protest that happened in Charlottesville, which led to the, you know, everybody blames that group for that one death with the guy in the car. It's like, we don't really know what happened there. I don't trust anybody, you know. I'm waiting for the trial, and then I will say, okay, you know, if it's anything against conservatives, I think, okay, maybe, because I don't think anybody really knows the facts. And I'm the first one to say, if some guy mowed somebody down with his car, that's horrible, and he should go to jail. But I'm not willing to say that yet. If your car is mobbed, and we've seen the left blocking roads and doing all kinds of shit, and they're the ones always instigating it. So I'm just not ready to believe it yet, even though there were actual Nazis at that protest. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to condemn the guy in the car. So anyway, Gavin McInnes put out a tweet actually disavowing Unite the Right, that protest in that group, saying he has nothing to do with it. He disavows them. He doesn't agree with them. And he called the guy who runs it basically a Democrat occupier, which he was. He was like a leader in the Occupy Wall Street movement. And just so happens that he's now this far-right Nazi guy, he's just a mole. He's a troll. So that's what Gavin McInnes said. That's what he called him, and then he was banned from Twitter. And so was his group Proud Boys for that post, which doesn't make any sense. So I don't really even get that, but they're just looking for excuses. And Gavin McInnes is great. He might say some stuff that kind of bothers you, whatever, but he's a comedian first, so that's why I really like him. He's really funny. He's extremely right-wing and very unapologetic about it. I've never seen anything that he says that I don't agree with. And he's, but comedians say stuff in a way that is often maybe harsher than other people like to hear.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, this whole thing, even our description of it here, like, well, he didn't really say anything. Like, who cares what he's saying? I mean, unless he's displaying pornography or inciting violence or something, like, the point is, who cares?
Yeah.
And they're only banning him because they don't like the content, and they think they have an excuse now and a justification for it.
Well, I think there's always been sort of a standard, kind of a standard. I mean, if you go over to gab.com, it is like wild, wild west over there. And there is some racist shit and like titties and stuff everywhere. I mean, it is wild, wild west. And Twitter does not want to be that. So I understand that. And they've never been that. So there is a standard, but Gavin McInnes and Proud Boys do not cross that standard. So it's just getting ridiculous. I mean, I don't even think Milo Yiannopoulos crossed that standard, and they kicked him off a couple years ago or a year ago. So,
well, by the way, what these people have millions and millions of followers collectively. At what point do they just band together and form their own platform and start making money? I mean, how hard would it be for Steven or Gavin McInnes or any of these guys to just, and I know like CRTV, there's other platforms that are developing, but
right.
If they just went to their own site, I know it's less convenient for people because everyone loves to use YouTube and it's easy to use YouTube, but how hard would it be to just have some sort of right-wing-ish type site that just collects these videos, to YouTube fashion and monetize them with ads and stuff? I mean, this is evil and it's horrible, and I think it's a total breach of contract, and these platforms can be sued. But it seems like this is not just one or two people. This is dozens and hundreds of people are being kicked off and demonetized, and it would seem like their audience is so large that they could just do it themselves. This is half the country is being kicked off.
I don't know. I mean, I think part of it is it's like, I read an article, I should pull that up and maybe talk about it in another show. It was a pretty good article saying why we don't want to be pushed into our own bubble. And I kind of agree with that. Like, I kind of like interacting with the wide, wide world. I don't, you want to be on YouTube where everybody is, not just people on the right. I don't just want to go to YouTube for politics. Like, I go to YouTube for everything. So it's got to be something like that, something that's bigger and more welcoming to everybody, that's just kind of open.
Yeah, well, it's a fair point, too, because, and we've talked about this many times, but you're almost ceding the argument
that's
or
right.
ceding the high ground by not fighting this.
That's right. We can't give up land here. And this is giving up land. And I know these are private companies, but what they're doing is wrong. And what they're doing is anti-American culture, which is free speech, and it's catering to the SJW mobs that troll the internet. And we do not want to live in that world where those people are in charge. So this has to be opposed. And we should socially oppose these companies for doing this. And there's more. Wait till you hear this next one. Robert Spencer, who's an Islam scholar whose credentials are impeccable. I mean, he is a literal scholar, okay? He's written a lot of books.
Right.
He's a legitimate guy. He is not anti-Muslim. He is anti-jihad. He's been extremely vocal against jihad, and he runs the site Jihad Watch. So he's a conservative activist, okay? But he's a very scholarly, mild-mannered dude. And I don't know if you remember, but a year ago, he was poisoned in Europe. He was in a restaurant and somebody poisoned him, some leftist asshole. They literally poisoned him. He ended up in the hospital. So this week he was kicked off Patreon, right? He didn't even post anything yet. He set up his account and he put a video on the account saying, hey, the plan is to do these regular videos here. Please subscribe to his Patreon. And Patreon sent him an email saying they have taken down his account because MasterCard would not support him. And so Patreon blames MasterCard. So I guess MasterCard runs Patreon, which is ridiculous. But I don't know. I mean, I guess Patreon is like, well, we can't even run his funds because we'd have to set up a separate system where, we have a non-MasterCard related transaction or something. And I don't even know if you can do that. I don't even know. But why would MasterCard target Robert Spencer? That is egregious.
Right.
And then for Patreon to kick him off and to give in to MasterCard's bullying, that's egregious.
Of course.
So,
why didn't they just say, screw you?
Yeah, they should have. They should have said, fine, we won't accept MasterCard on Patreon anymore.
Right. If they had any principles, they would have.
Yeah, but they don't. So I hope that, I don't even know if he can do this, but I hope he goes over to Hatreon, which is the site for the people who've been kicked off Patreon. It runs exactly like Patreon, but it's called Hatreon. And I don't know if it does business with MasterCard. Who knows?
That's awesome. I didn't know that. There's something called Hatreon. I love it.
Yeah. It's like you go over there, it's identical. It looks identical it's a total copy of Patreon. It's so funny. All right, the other thing that happened on August 10th, this is a popular, politically non-aligned podcast, H3H3. It's like the number 1 or 2 podcast on YouTube. Had its live broadcast banned midstream after its hosts began discussing the censorship of Alex Jones.
So they were just discussing it.
They were just discussing it. They're an apolitical pod. The H3H3 is a huge popular site with young people. They're not at all left or right. They're probably lean left actually, but they're centrists,
That's diabolical.
That is crazy. Like they were midstream and YouTube shut them off because they mentioned Alex Jones.
Wow.
And the guy who, one of the guys from H3H3 Productions, so here's his tweet about it. He said, wow, at Team YouTube just shut down our at the H3 podcast live stream and gave us a strike for talking about Alex Jones, ? What?
My God.
Like they were freaking out. So we'll see if anything came of that. That's total freak out.
Well, that's good because at least people in the center are feeling it now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me that, I'm not talking about like crazy progressives, but even people that skew left or something like that aren't absolutely outraged by this. I mean, I think if YouTube were doing this to the other side and you would have to, as someone who espouses reason and reasoned debate, you'd be outraged by it. I mean, this is completely, it's not only a breach of the rules, but like you said, it's part of a cultural movement that's trying to shut down free speech,
Right.
and that's attacking, and that's essentially conflating conservatives with evil. That you can't even listen to them. That to
Apparently
even
you can't
consider their
even-
argument
apparently
is to somehow normalize them.
You can't even discuss them. They're non-persons that you can't even discuss. Like, that's really creepy. And yeah, it does get back to what I said. It's like this SJW internet mob, before the social media, these people would have no power. And I don't know, I feel that way sometimes on Facebook and Doug, you're in my Facebook circle, and we get into these arguments with these dweebs. And I think in real life, I wouldn't even have conversations with these people. I would meet them in real life and be like, ugh, like your personality is
Go away.
so offensive. Everything you say has no credibility, and I'm not listening to you. And the person wouldn't have a following, and they wouldn't have, any power. But somehow these people get on social media and they're gods.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are starting to run our society. And this may be the worst thing about social media that we're going to find, besides like destroying teenage life, is that we let this fringe group of fuck faces run our world for like a couple decades.
Yeah, it's there's some deep-seated sense of social ostracization that somehow deeply impacts people to the point where they're actually care and are concerned that a bunch of Twitter trolls hate you or don't like you or something. And of course, it's deeper than that because they're acting out on an ideology that's being perpetrated by academics and that's oozing into the culture in every possible way.
Here's what's happened is they have power because they are willing to be violent and harass. They're willing to break laws. So they will take down a restaurant by protesting that restaurant, harassing them, being violent to people who might want to patronize. And the cops aren't doing anything about it because the mayors of the city are letting it happen because they're leftists. So I think it comes down to these cities need to start electing people who are tough on this type of criminal activity, because you shouldn't be able to, like this poor baker in Colorado who's now being taken to task again, who just won his Supreme Court case, and now the commission is again after him because some transgender activist lawyer targeted him and called him a bunch and asked him to bake all these like offensive cakes, like purposely setting him up and harassing him. And now the commission has filed another suit against him.
Well, and just as an aside, I mean, the Supreme Court really didn't agree with him in principle. They kind of
they screwed
judged
up
for him, but it was more on a technicality.
Yeah, they
and so
screwed
it
up.
completely set him up to be sued again.
I know, but still, I mean,
It's evil.
It's evil, and like have a little bit of human, I don't know, humanity.
But what a double standard too, because here now they're taking him to task for not wanting to use his business to serve people he disagrees with. Meanwhile, these tech companies are shutting down half the frickin' country.
Right.
And that's fine. Remember, these are private companies, says the left. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But the private baker, he has to bake, he has to serve whoever walks in his door.
Right.
What a double standard.
Yeah. All right. The other banning news, I'm going to actually debunk this. It's the FCC has shut down Liberty Radio, which hosted Alex Jones' flagship radio show. So at first, when I read this headline, I was alarmed, but then I looked into it. And actually, this Liberty Radio was a hijacked channel. And I don't agree with this. Like, I think the airwaves should be free, but it's not. They're not free. You can't do this. So this radio station has been operating with an illegal tower, transmitting. They don't have a license. They've been doing this for 2 years, and the FCC has been trying to track them down and finally found them in an Austin apartment. Yeah, I know. With
Nice.
this like tower on their roof, and shut them down. So it's not like this was targeting Alex Jones or something like that. It's this actual station that was carrying the flagship show, and Alex shouldn't have been on a renegade, I don't know what you want to call it, an illegal transmission anyway. And you're just, whatever. Those are the rules we have to play by. The FCC has rules. You have to have a license to broadcast. And so they were broadcasting unlicensed for 2 years.
But was Jones broadcasting exclusively through this group, or were they just pirating the broadcast? And
I'm not 100% about that, but I think he was broadcasting through that group, and his flagship radio show was being broadcast through that group. It was called Liberty Radio, and I've heard of them before. I didn't realize they weren't legit, but they weren't. So, I mean...
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, so that is different. That's not like this latest round of everybody being banned. So that's the banning news this week, and we can do a regular banning report.
Until we're banned.
Until we're banned, we'll do the banning report. If you guys are interested, leave us a comment and let me know if, are you bored by this? Are you interested in this? I'm interested in it because I'm not a big fish, but I have my own shadow banning stuff going on Facebook, and I'm worried about YouTube, to be honest. I don't know what's going to happen there. I haven't posted anything but these podcasts for a while, so I'm not currently worried, but when I get to making comedy videos again, it's just not the environment it was when I was making them 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I felt like I could have put anything on there and not worried about it. And now, I did a video in a hijab making fun of people who cater to Muslims. Do you think that video today wouldn't be immediately banned?
Absolutely.
The only reason it hasn't yet given me a strike is because it's so old. It's from 2010. It's been on the internet for 8 years, or maybe it's from 2011. So it's been on the internet for 7 years, and it doesn't get a lot of new play. But also, it'd be kind of hard for YouTube to come around now and kick it off and ban me for something I put up 7 years ago.
See, the frightening thing to me is that, right now, we're having this discussion about these so-called private companies who are completely breaching their contracts. But in any case, at some point, this is, when Trump or, when Trump is gone, or let's say an Elizabeth Warren type gets in, or, the Democrats control the House, and so they therefore control the FCC. At what point do we have this stuff seeping into government regulations?
Yeah.
Because they're ripening the culture for it. They're essentially putting out the message, or inculcating the message, that conservatives are not to be listened to. They're dangerous.
Right. They're violent.
We can't normalize them. You can't even say their names.
Their speech is violent.
It's literally a form of violence for them to even speak. So at what point then is it justified for the FCC to say, hey, we can't have these people speaking on radio?
Yeah, shut down all right-sided talk radio. That's next. There's no question in my mind that's coming. If the left ever gets control of these federal agencies again, that's what's going to happen. Because, they don't even need to pass laws, because they've already shown they're willing to take these federal agencies and abuse the power.
Right.
So there's what happened to Lois Lerner when she used the IRS to crush the Tea Party in 2012, right before the election? What happened to her?
Nothing. She's got a nice pension.
Yeah. So
nothing, absolutely nothing. And they'll act through these agencies, and and so what'll happen? Well, someone will take them to court. If the Supreme Court is still 5-4, then you'll win this free speech case in court. But in the meantime, what'll practically happen?
Yeah, what damage is done. And in 2012, the damage was we got 4 more years of Obama, and that's hard. That is hard on this country and on the morale and on the economy and everything. And it's you know what? I just thought it's just like that beetle in the woods analogy. Like, you want to cut down the 1 or 2 trees, but you get tied up in court for 2 years, and it kills the whole forest.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they cannot get power again. Everybody needs to vote in the midterms. Everybody needs to vote. So speaking of election results, I think we should segue into that now. Perfect segue.
I want credit for it.
Yeah, you can have credit for it.
Thank you. Not shouting this down.
So I wanted to talk about the primary election results that happened in Minnesota specifically because they're kind of interesting. First of all, Keith Ellison, the day before the primary, the woman stepped out, came forward, or actually I think it was her son, came forward and said, Keith Ellison beat up my mom, and by the way, he was accused of this by another woman before he was elected to Congress, but she didn't have a lot of proof. She just had all she had was the 911 call and the police report. So
and black eyes.
Yeah, and black eyes.
With an imprint of his knuckles in her cheek.
Right.
Other than that,
his fingerprints were slapped into her cheek, but that's not enough to take down a left-leaning congressman in Minnesota.
Not Minnesota.
So anyway, he was elected anyway. He won his primary anyway for attorney general. This is the guy who's going to control the law in Minnesota, right?
It's like that guy in New York.
Yeah, that's what he's running for. It's a powerful position. And she has video. So that hasn't been released yet. But now they're kind of talking about maybe he's going to have to step down and they're going to have to get a replacement because this just is too much, I think.
I don't know why they don't play the video. Allegedly, there's a video of him dragging her by her feet across a room.
She has not released it. She hasn't released it. She says she has it on tape. I saw an interview with her last night on the news. She's a tough lady. The interviewer said to her, something like, well, how many times has this happened? She said once. And the interviewer was like, well, it's only once. And she's like, once. She was like, nobody does that to me twice. I was like, woohoo. Asshole. Awesome. This woman interviewer asking her, well, if it's only once, like, is he really a serial domestic violence committer? It's like,
meanwhile, if it was a conservative, it would be like, he thought about hitting you?
Yeah.
That's enough.
Right.
If it's a leftist, he only hit you once.
He called you a bitch? Oh my God, he should lose his job. All right. Yeah. So also a winner in Minnesota's Democratic primary is Ilhan Omar. She's a Somali refugee, and she has been in the state legislature for like a year and a half or something like that. And she won her primary here to go to take Ellison's seat in Congress. So she would be our first Somali Muslim in Congress. And I think that's important because, as you and I were talking the other day, Doug, there's homegrown Muslims and there's Somali Muslims. Like, Ellison was just your typical Jew-hating, Farrakhan, racist Muslim, but he was an American. This woman is a Muslim Brotherhood-connected foreign Muslim. And she's...
By the way, this is the point we're at.
Yeah.
This is the bar now.
That's
where
right.
Keith Ellison, the wife-beating, Jew-hating, Farrakhan, crazy. He's actually maybe better. Maybe she's better than Ellison. I don't know. We have to look into this a little bit.
Well, here's why I don't like her. Because I've seen her give little... press conferences after some terrorist attack is committed. Like when the Somali guy stabbed the woman for no reason 14 times, the young woman who was walking home from her Apple job uptown at 10 at night, normally safe neighborhood. Some Somali guy doesn't take her purse. He just stabs her 14 times, yelling Allahu Akbar or whatever, and only stopped because a bystander stopped him. And he ran, and they haven't caught him. So he's at large in the city. Well, she immediately came out and said, hey, now, don't take this out on Muslims and Somalis. God. I'm really, really worried about Islamophobia right now. Oh, thanks. Maybe worry about the fact that Somalis are stabbing people in the street for no reason. And the mall. And by the way, here's how the city has changed since the Somalis got here. There are armed there are guys all over the airport now with machine guns walking around. The whole airport is crawling with machine gun cops. I only saw that in Mexico when I went there as a kid to vacation. You'd see the armed guards everywhere, armed police. And you walk into the Mall of America, you have to walk past several cement barricades, and you walk in and there's, 30 cops right at the entrance door, ready to stop and search anybody they don't like the look of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, that's kind of what's going on. And there are places where I wouldn't go. There are coffee shops completely taken over that are scary at this point. There's, little Somali ghettos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, she could come out and be like, hey, Somalis, you need to get your act together so that we're respected and treated well. No, she doesn't say that. She says, hey, white people, Minnesotans, even you black Americans, don't you be taking this out on us.
Right. She's more worried about the backlash rather than the lash.
Right. Oh, that's so good. Exactly. So, and there's some evidence that she fucking married her brother. This is not alleged. She married her brother to help him commit immigration fraud in England. And I know that people on the left think that's fine, or even people on the right who like open immigration think, well, she had to do what she had to do to help him get out of Somalia because Somalia is a shithole, and
Can't say that.
Good for her for marrying her brother.
It's actually a wonderful place that everybody wants to leave, but it's wonderful. Remember, you can't say shithole.
Oh, sorry. Well, and then they come here and they create these little enclaves. So I'm sure those enclaves are lovely places since they're run by people who basically created the shithole in Somalia.
Right.
So anyway, I was talking to my mom who lives here, and she is a blue Democrat. She was a teacher. She's part of that union. She always votes Democrat. I said, so I think this Ilhan Omar, I don't understand why people are voting. They want this person to represent them, this Muslim Brotherhood connected Muslim. They want her to represent them in Congress. And she said, I think it's the Somalis that voted her in. I don't think it's Democrats so much as it's the Somali community. They come out to these primaries and they vote.
Right.
And I thought, I'm going to check that. They're not going to report that in the Star Tribune. But I did a little Google search, and I found that last year, 84% of the people who voted in the Democratic primary came from the 6th Ward, and that's the Somali enclave. 84% of DFL primary voters in Minnesota are Somali. So
this is why when you change the composition of your population through mass migration, it has political ramifications. They can literally change the institutions.
Yeah, and I mean, they see this as a benefit. The people who run the Somali enclaves are tribal leaders. And I'm sure they have a lot of power in making people vote. I'm sure they can say, you had better vote. So that's who is running the Democrat primaries. And so Democrats, to take their party back, or at least to be represented as well as the Somalis, they need to go out and vote in the primary. But I think that they're okay with the Somalis running their party.
What's the difference?
Yeah, in the end, what is the difference? I don't know. All right, the good news, though, the good news out of Minnesota is, well, I guess I should say what this says about the trends. So the trends here are we're really lurching left on the left. So, really lurching toward hardcore radical Islam, hardcore socialism. That's what the Democrats are becoming. And I think that's probably okay because it's probably going to be good in the long run, but it's a little scary right now. And I am for fighting these people. I don't believe this idea that we should let things get worse so they can get better. We do need to fight these people. They shouldn't get elected. They will destroy things. They won't do it by the law. If you think they're going to they can't get away with it. They can get away with it. They're the goddamn forest beetle. And they're going to destroy the forest before we can do anything about it. So
Yeah, look at Chicago. Look at the city of Chicago or Detroit or Baltimore, where there's a Democratic machine, or New York, where there's a Democratic machine in power that no one can change. There's no way to change it.
yeah. So it needs to be resisted. They need to be resisted. It's not a good thing. But long term, I think we're getting more people. The walkaway movement's really interesting. And so I think that is part of the backlash. But that needs to get bigger. Democrats out there who want freedom and want American culture, this place where you can walk down the street without getting stabbed 14 times. You got to fight.
You want that?
Yeah, I want that. I want to live in that world.
That's weird.
Okay, so the good news, though, out of Minnesota actually comes from the right. There was a candidate for governor, and his name is Tim Pawlenty, and he's been the governor before for 2 terms, and he's basically a Democrat. He's like a old school Democrat. So he's
a Jeb.
He's a Jeb.
That's a word.
Yeah, it's our new word. We describe these types of establishment candidates. He's a Jeb. He had outside money. He didn't campaign here. He was very arrogant because he had all this money. And he's got this reputation, and he's known. And he's very arrogant. And he didn't bother to, meet and greet. And he lost. He lost the primary. And the guy who won it is like a Tea Party guy.
Great.
Yeah, he's like a really good guy. If you want to see... He went on Fox. I don't know. He's got a little blurb on Fox, the new the candidate for governor, and it's really good. He's really direct. He's straightforward. He seems to be a really honest guy. He's kind of a regular Joe. He's a really good person, and he won. So, and the good news about that is that they've had a Democrat in there for 2 terms, and even people like my mom, who they vote Democrat all the time. They're sick of it. The Democrats have been caught in so many scandals the last 8 years and so much overspending. And whatever you want to say about Minnesotans and how Democrat they vote, they are common sense people, and they do not like people who spend their money irresponsibly. They're kind of frugal, high responsibility people. And so the Democrats have really alienated the average Minnesotan over the last 8 years. And so the worst that will happen is the Democrats just won't come out and vote.
And this is Dayton you're talking about.
Yeah, Governor Dayton, who's the child of the Dayton
Target.
Dayton Hudson. Yeah, the Target. I mean, he is the heir of all of that. And this guy won. I mean, this was so crazy because it's like voting in Keith Ellison after you know that he beats women and hates Jews and hates white people. He was in and out of psychiatric wards. He had like a noted mental problem. He has the eyes of somebody who's on a lot of psychiatric medication. Like he literally...
This is Dayton you're talking about?
Yes, he literally has these crazy eyes, and, sometimes he would sway and kind of had this weird, drugged out kind of slurring thing going on. So
sounds like Pelosi.
Yeah, so the guy won governor 2 terms. So he's gone now, and I think this guy...
This is the state that elected Jesse the Body, though. So
that's right.
Is this odd to you?
What?
That they would elect a psychiatric patient as the governor? I mean...
I don't know what the hell
this is what Minnesota does.
I really
don't.
And
Al Franken is senator and Jesse the Body is governor.
Yeah.
Dayton sounds like maybe a psychiatric patient is an upgrade. And Keith Ellison, I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, come on, Minnesotans. You're really not showing well.
So is this Tea Party guy have a shot to win, or is
that's what I'm saying. I mean, Minnesota is known to... Minnesotans will flip around.
Yeah.
And they might be Democrats, lifelong Democrats, but one year they'll just vote Republican anyway because they like the Republican better. And this guy who's now running does not come across as that typical slickster jerk who, nobody wants. And that was Tim Pawlenty. So I think this guy is a real shot. And also this state almost went for Trump. They were like 1.5 points away from Trump.
I didn't know it was that close.
It was very close. And part of that reason why you have that is because the rural communities here are very conservative.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, they vote Democrat because of the farm stuff, but socially they're very, very conservative people.
Yeah, I've always said Minnesota's like Pat Buchanan and Jesse Jackson combined.
Yeah, that's such a good description. Yeah, they're like extremists on welfare and extremists on...
They're the worst parts of both parties.
They are. They really are.
Social conservatism with economic socialism.
I guess that's why you get people like Crazy Eyes. But for a long time, they had a really good Republican governor, Arnie Carlson. He was kind of a middle-of-the-roader guy, but he was honest, and he tried to, save money, and he cut taxes. He cut property taxes. So he was a good governor, probably as good as you can get.
How far back are you going? Arnie Carlson, wasn't that like the 70s or 80s or something?
That was 80s.
Come on, you're dating yourself.
I know, but I'm just saying, Minnesota, so after that, they went Jesse Ventura. So
in 1870, they had a great governor.
No. In the 80s, they had a good Republican governor, even though their legislature was completely Democratic. So you had like that kind of check and balance there. And then they had Jesse Ventura, which was nuts. And then they had
terrible.
He was a little crazy, especially he was a little nuts.
But the way he governed wasn't horrible.
And then they had Crazy Eyes for 8 years. So I'm just saying they're kind of all over the place. They'll almost vote for anybody. So
yeah, that's true.
So
I think this guy's going to win. I think people are sick of Dayton.
Yeah,
he's had enough. They've had enough, and they'll just vote for this guy because he's reasonable. As long as he's reasonable, he just seems like a regular guy.
He's a regular guy.
He's not crazy.
He seems like a regular guy. He oozes Minnesotan,
Yeah.
And like a guy who would veto a bill because he doesn't like the spending in it. A real rational, regular Joe. So, but politically astute, and he's a very good speaker, and he's been involved in politics here for a long time. So I think he's gonna win.
That's good that he's a good. When you run for governor, you should be a good speaker.
Yeah, he's very articulate, very very smart guy. Yeah, let's hope.
I love the bar that we've set.
I know, right?
He's a good speaker. He can say words.
He can say words. He's he doesn't tweet constantly. No, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
It's funny how the low bar, even kind of with Trump, it's like I was kind of like weirded out when this reality TV star who tweets inappropriate things became our president. And you normally have this. I remember when Clinton was caught sticking a cigar up an intern's pee-pee in the Oval Office, and that was like the big shocker. But
speaking of Minnesota, can you translate what you just said? He stuck a what in a pee-pee? What?
A cigar. You know the story. I don't need to say it.
Oh, but you said, Clinton stuck a cigar in...
Up an intern's pee-pee.
Oh, I thought that was always a guy's anatomy, pee-pee. We can say that about women have pee-pees?
Yes. My daughter.
Okay.
Yes, that's the words I use with my daughter.
Okay.
Just because you have two boys, you don't know. So when that happened, I remember feeling like he was such a downgrade in terms of just kind of bearing and respectability and just basic honor,
Uh-huh.
But now we have Trump. It's kind of similar, but like I'm kind of okay with it. Like I feel like the benefits outweigh the weird discrediting of the office. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think we should discredit the office, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, maybe the office needs discrediting. It's not a God place.
No, it's not an imperial, royal autocrat or something, with this veneer of majesty. I mean, this is the president. It's supposed to be some guy that we elect.
Some American guy.
Just like the Congress and everybody. And this is one of the cultural things that I think separates, the right from the left is, for the left, the government is so necessary.
Yeah.
To, it's metaphysically necessary for them to have this all-seeing, omnipotent, majestic government that can make up for all of our flaws and humanity and evil. They need a government. Without the government, we're all going to kill each other, and so they need to create this kind of veneer of us, this august veneer, and these people are just people. They should be regular Joes. We hire this guy as an executive. Yeah, it should be a pretty outstanding person. It would be nice to have a somewhat outstanding person, but we shouldn't even have a big government. The government should be kind of an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, they do. Back in the old day, in the founding time, the federal government was a demotion.
Right.
You wanted to be in state government. That's where all the action was, because
Right.
each state was like a nation. And now we're hiring these like this royal family kind of situation where everyone's obsessed with the presidency and his family and his kids, and it's just really amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot
to
of
me.
pomp and circumstance around the office now, and the women wear these designer dresses, and there's all these photo ops everywhere, and everything's got the sheen of kind of unreality to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a function of how much power they really do have. Remember when Obama left and he was and he flew around the Capitol in a helicopter? Do you remember this scene?
No.
Where they were showing him, kind of flying in his magic helicopter around the city of DC, one last time.
Looking out the
as the
window
great man.
pensively.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's just so ridiculous. I love that Trump is just pulling back the curtain on
Yeah.
this, like the Wizard of Oz.
He's just a dope who
showing-
likes steak overcooked with ketchup on it. Like he's just a dope. And he kind of, his suits are always a little baggy, and like he's just kind of, although his wife is beautiful.
And I love how he calls the Prime Minister of Canada Justin. He just calls him by their first name.
He does that with
Yeah.
all of them.
Justin should do that.
Right.
He's just totally humanizing.
Right. Oh, that is
People
such a
is
good
great.
point. He really is. And being, I'd rather be called by my first name than be called Rocket Boy. Excuse me, I just
All right.
sneezed.
He is just humanizing all these people. I think it's
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things I love about it.
Yeah. And he'll
That's what
tell
drives
you
them
what's
crazy.
going on behind the scenes. Like, well, yeah, Angela said this, but blah, screw that. And it's just like,
Yeah. Totally.
These people have nothing to say when they accepted a deal with Russia. How am I supposed to, why am I spending money to defend you from Russia if you're making pipeline deals with them and becoming
That was so
dependent on
great
them?
when he said that.
Yeah, nobody would say that. Nobody, we can't be so direct.
Right.
You
You
know?
have to sort of beat around the bush and not really ever address anything directly. It's just like,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we did need this for a little while and take down the veneer and the sheen on all these international globalist power junkies, and
I think that's why they hate him so. It's one of the hidden, nuanced reasons why they despise him so much, because he's such a lout and he's so boorish
yeah,
that he's completely tarnishing this fake veneer that attaches to this, this omnipotent, majestic power elite that
Yeah.
are supposed to be running our lives and telling us what to do, and he's exposing them as a bunch of charlatans
mm-hmm.
and morons.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly what should happen. And I like the fact that these sort of fault lines in American politics and culture are being exposed. The gloves are off. The Democrats are rightfully taking their place as the party of real socialism.
Right. They're
a
finally
party of
admitting it.
violence. I mean, look, they're the party of violence.
Yeah.
They're the party of political power, which is government force. And, they're shouting down speakers. They're burning campuses. They're beating people up in the streets. They're shutting down free speech. They're now wanting to take over the economy directly and with their obvious espousal of socialism, blatant. And, the Republicans are becoming the party of civil liberties, for God's sakes. I mean, and the party of the Constitution. And so, I shouldn't say the Republicans. I should say, a segment of the right.
Yes.
The good guys on the right the more libertarian-oriented right. Not the rhino, awful establishment Jeb Republicans. But in any case, I think this is the right fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the right fight to have between American culture, the American founding, American individualism, and socialism and European form of socialism and anti-American hatred.
Yeah. It's funny because, so I have an au pair, and my current au pair is from Colombia. My former au pair is from France, and now we're getting another one from France. And they all of them say, the key trait that attracts them to Americans and America is the optimism. It's like the can-do, you can do anything, the optimism in our culture. And they see, even in France, you can't even say even in France, but in France, I used to joke.
The country of Sartre.
Yeah, but I used to joke when you visit there and you're in Paris and everybody speaks English and you're asking for something. I mean, you hear the phrase all the time, it's not possible. It's not possible.
Exactly.
That's like the number one thing the French will say to you when you're asking, can I get that with ice? That's not possible.
It's not possible.
Yeah, right. They just don't. They have no ability to go, you know what? I'll figure that out for you. Or yes, of course you can have. Of course, we'll figure anything out for you like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Let's figure it out.
Right. Let's figure it out. And that's the American attitude. And I think if you're young and you're growing up in these countries and you want to make something of yourself and you have that youthful enthusiasm and you're surrounded by people who just tell you to stop. And instead, these girls are like, I'm going to go to America where people say I can. People want to support my striving and my trying to do something incredible. Like the new one that I have, she was saying to me that she has a degree in interior design and she wants to move into professional event planning. So these are not like high professional people. She wants to move into event planning. And she says the people at home say, even my best friend will say, you can't do that. That's just, there's so many people in that and you'll never get a job. And I mean, have you ever heard anybody say that to you? And you can't be an event planner in the United States?
It's not possible.
I mean, like, put up a website and you're an event planner tomorrow, Like,
Exactly.
It is not hard to become an event planner here.
Right.
So it's just a really big difference. And I think, we attract people who want to have that optimism in their life and make something of their lives. And America is a great country and it's a great culture and we should not let it go.
By the way, Seinfeld has a bit on "Is Not Possible." Have you heard that one?
No, I haven't. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, just Google it. It's great.
I'm gonna, because that's totally a joke I've been making for years about the French.
But you're so right about this divide, because and I think I've said this before, but think about even Trump's campaign slogan of "Make America Great," where he's saying we can do it. There's a sense of optimism there, as far as you need to take action to do something, and the result will be great for you. Whereas remember Hillary's slogan was "I'm with her."
Yeah, but remember Obama's slogan was "Yes, we can."
Yes, we can. What?
Well, whatever. But still, that's an optimistic.
Yes, we can take over the
yes,
country.
Absolutely.
With socialism.
Yes, we can crush the right and do welfare for all. Yes, we can. That's a can-do attitude.
But it was, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
I'm just saying, even on the left, people are Americans. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, good point.
They still respond to that. So.
But look at Hillary was.
Yeah, Hillary. Now it's really sinking.
You're with her.
I'm with her.
You're orbiting around her.
Right.
She'll tell you what to do. You're with her.
Well, she lost. So.
That's what I mean. I think your point's really well taken. That's still the essence of American culture.
Right. Yeah. So. Anyway.
Did you hear Cuomo saying?
Yes. Yeah. If anyone hasn't heard out there, Cuomo said something. I wish I should play it actually, but he just said America was never that great anyway.
Yeah.
And the audience, his leftist audience, like kind of went, "Whoa, what? Whoa!" Like they didn't like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
There was a gasp.
There was a gasp. So I'm glad. I hope more decent people walk away from these creeps that are taking over the left. But they've been socialist for a long time without saying it explicitly. So, I'm sorry if you're walking away now, you better also take ownership that your ideas are exactly what these people are about. So it's not just, oh, now they're being all intolerant or whatever. Well, okay, so let's talk policy next.
Yeah, well, their ideas logically extrapolated are the hardcore left, and they have to understand that. And
Right.
I think that's so common, too, when you talk to a kind of quote-unquote reasonable Democrat, and you say, well, okay, how are you going to do this? How are you going to pay for this? What right do you have to take some people's money and give it to another person? And ultimately, you get down to the real basic questions. And I think it's almost shocking to them that they espouse force at some
Right.
level, that they believe the government should seize some people's wealth and give it to another, even if they're quote unquote more reasonable
Right.
than the hard left
Yeah,
that wants to seize everything.
I really don't think they've thought it through. I think a lot of times they're just like, of course we want to help people.
Yes.
And they don't really think through what that means when you put that power in the government's hands rather than just, volunteer charity and things like that. If you want to help people, great. And that's a great sentiment. Help people. Do it. Yeah. But
Well, there was a one of those a guy in the street interviews, and he was asking the people on, I think it was like NYU campus or Columbia's campus, about Cortez, whatever her name is, her socialist plan.
Ocasio-Cortez.
And he said, how would you pay for this? And someone said, well, I think some of the money should come from the government and some should come from taxes.
Right. Well, you know what that means. The government will just print it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's not a tax.
We're going to do a whole show, Doug, since you're an economy guy and a money guy. We're going to do a whole show explaining or talking about how printing money actually is the worst thing. This inflation is stealing everything, and it's a hidden tax. It's such a despicable, creepy. I think that people just do not realize it's all happening behind the scenes. It's kind of fuzzy. You don't really know what's happening. Just your stuff that you're buying is just more expensive, and you just slowly get used to it. And you don't know that you're now paying like a 75% tax on your wealth,
Right.
because they're taking, 25 explicitly, but the rest of it is happening behind your back.
Yeah, it's a tax of least resistance because they can get away with it politically without having to actually pass a tax.
Right.
And it also exacerbates the divide between the rich and the poor, which we'll have to talk about.
Yeah,
but
we'll do
people
a
talk
show
about
on
the
that.
growing wealth gap,
Hey,
and
yes.
that is a consequence of inflation.
Yeah, and you see that out here, especially in California. Hey, speaking of future shows, I wanted to just plug that in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Tara Ross on, the historian who does this Today in History posts on Facebook that are so good. And she wrote a book about the Electoral College and how important it is, given today's hostile climate against it.
She should be banned.
Yeah, we'll do that show, and after we talk to her, we'll get banned, I'm sure. But anyway, we're going to do the show anyway, right? Fight the Power.
Absolutely.
And that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So if you have questions for her, leave them in the comments section, either of any of these shows, or you can go over to my Facebook page, Sunny Lohman, and write me a message or write me a comment there. And I will put that in my little book of things to ask her. Preparing for that now. I'm reading the book. So that'll be a good one. That's coming up. And I think that's it for our show today. Thank you for joining us. You can follow me on Facebook, as I said, at Sunny Lohman, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, House of Sunny. There's a lot of good it'll do you, because it'll be banned eventually. But do it anyway. You can follow Doug at The Rational Capitalist on Facebook. Also, his blog is ratcap.com. Right?
TheRatCap.com.
The Rat Cap, not the other one. The one.
The one.
Talk to you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the House of Sunny podcast. Go check out Sunny on YouTube at her channel, House of Sunny. Everything Sunny does is fan-funded, and because she's likely to get kicked off and demonetized on every platform at some point, please support her over at patreon.com/House of Sunny. Become one of Sunny's elite squad and have access to behind-the-scenes footage, t-shirts, special events, and more.